This is a dose of health, your quick but deep dive into health and wellness tips from experts across New Jersey, all in 15 minutes or less. This mini series is a part of our mission here at Healthy in the Garden State to provide you with the people, places, and resources that are helping New Jersey residents live our healthiest, fullest lives. I'm Kate Chericello Tente, a certified fitness professional and the host of Healthy in the Garden State. Be sure to click that subscribe button and check out healthyinthegardenstate.com for more free resources. Speaking with me today is Heather Thompson. She is the executive director of Table to Table, New Jersey's first and largest food rescue organization, working hard to bridge the gap between food that could otherwise go to waste and the harrowing amount of food insecure residents in northern New Jersey. So, Heather, tell me more about exactly what Table to Table does in helping rescue and deliver food.
Sure. So Table to Table was founded in 1999 as New Jersey's first and still to this day largest food rescue nonprofit. Essentially, what we're here to do is bridge the gap between surplus food that ends up getting wasted, often ending up in landfills, maybe ending up in compost, but there is so much food out there that gets wasted that could end up on people's dinner tables. And so we're bridging that gap between that food and the folks who need it. The overall estimates are that close to 3 billion pounds of food goes to waste in New Jersey every year, while we have almost 1.1 million neighbors, including 270,000 kids who struggle with food insecurity. So when we're able to connect those dots and get the systems in place to rescue that surplus food and get it to the communities where it is needed, we're really solving two significant problems and creating a healthier future for all of us, and especially for those people who are struggling to be able to afford the healthy food they need.
The numbers are insane, right? 3 billion pounds just in New Jersey alone. And
It is
then
pretty
over,
staggering every year.
wow, and
Yeah.
over 1 million people who could really, really use that food.
Yeah, it is incredible. And the reasons that food gets wasted all along the food supply chain, certainly a lot of it is happening at the household level. We all do it, right? We cook a meal, there's leftovers sitting in the fridge, they sit for too long, and then we say, "Oh, I never got around to eating this." Or we buy ingredients that we use maybe one portion of to cook something, and then we don't know what to do with the rest. There are all of these reasons that food waste happens at home, but it really happens all along the supply chain, going back to the farms and the producers through to distributors, through to retail, restaurants, catering. Food is getting wasted everywhere. And we are proud of the dent that we're able to make in those big numbers. Last year alone, we rescued and delivered more than 25 million pounds of healthy food, about 60% of that being fresh produce to our neighbors in need.
Wow. Now, so break that down for us, especially if someone has never heard of Table to Table before. Where are you finding all of this food? And then that aspect of the safety, food safety, those sorts of the government aspect too.
Absolutely. We have a fleet of 6 refrigerated trucks that handles large scale rescues 5 days a week. They're out every day, Monday through Friday. And they are going to places like supermarkets. So we work with almost every major supermarket chain in northern New Jersey. They're going to distributors like Tropicana and Driscoll's. They're going to places like Newark Airport, which is one of our newer partners. We started working with them a little over a year ago, and we're sending a truck several times a week to go to the airport and pick up all of those grab and go sandwiches, salads, yogurt parfaits that don't get sold at places like Hudson News, as well as working with some of the restaurants and other food retailers in the airport. So the trucks keep extremely busy. They go out to farms during harvest season, and they're loading up pallets or very large bins of food, and then getting that out to some of the larger pantries that have the capacity to take multiple pallets at a time or take multiple large bins and store it and redistribute it quickly. Because we're working with perishable food, it has to be redistributed fairly quickly. So the trucks being refrigerated and our ability to coordinate that pickup and delivery within hours and delivering that food to places that are generally going to then distribute it to community either that same day or maybe the next day. The scheduling and the coordination of what food goes where. I always say that the concept of food rescue is simple, but the actual logistics are very much not simple. We have an incredible team who stays on top of every detail of this every single day to make sure that that food gets picked up and then safeguarded. At the same time, we have a group of, at this point, over 500 volunteers. We call them our Food Rescue Hero, who are using our iRescue app to do local pickups and deliveries at a much smaller scale that they can do with their own vehicles. So our volunteers are going onto the app, they're seeing a list or a map of available rescues, they're claiming the ones that work for their schedule, and then they're simply following the directions to go to a local farmer's market, a local school, a local deli, and they're picking up boxes or trays of surplus and then delivering that to a smaller local pantry, shelter, group home. Again, we've done all that coordination on the back end to figure out where the food is going to go. Every rescue takes less than an hour from start to finish, so the food is staying safe. Even though it is perishable food, it's really no more risky than you driving your leftovers home from a restaurant or driving your groceries home from the store.
Wow. Did you have to go through red tape to get this approved in terms of what constitutes food that is still safe to eat or anything with germs? Like, how did that all work?
Yeah, we work very closely with our all of our food businesses to help them understand what is and is not safe to donate. We have worked with a group of at both the national and the state level with other food rescue nonprofits and food banks, with food businesses, with experts from the health department, from Rutgers departments of food safety, to put together some pretty comprehensive guidelines that all tie back to guidance that exists at the federal and state level to make sure that our food donors really understand how to make sure this food stays safe, and how to protect themselves and us and the recipients from liability concerns. It truly comes down to every food business we're working with is trained on food safety. They have staff that are trained on food safety. Our operations team is all trained on food safety. And so, as long as the food has been prepared and maintained in safe conditions, and then the transport time is kept at a minimum, and that we know that we're delivering to a place that has the means to safely store and or distribute that food, then all of the bases are covered. And in our 26 and a half years of operation, I'm knocking on my wood desk, we've never had an issue with food safety.
Amazing. Amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking too about when I was in high school, I worked in a restaurant and I could not believe how much food that was perfectly good got thrown out each night. And I just have never forgotten that. So to know that there are organizations like yours out there, and I know that you work with at times America's Grow Row as well, which was
Mhm.
featured on last season of Healthy in the Garden State, another incredible
Oh, great.
organization. This
They
is
are.
just, you're doing such amazing work every day. And then
Oh,
there's the
thank
added element, right, of the environmental impact. Can you share more about that as well, especially with when this episode's released? Earth Day
you.
will be right around the corner.
Yeah, that was something that was really brand new to me when I started working with Table to Table a couple of years ago. I have spent a lot of my career in nonprofit. I have worked with and for organizations for many years that have supported folks facing food insecurity. But until I started here at Table to Table, I really can't say I ever thought a whole lot about the food waste side of the equation and the the impact that keeping good food out of landfills has in and of itself in terms of creating a healthier environment for all of us. So as I've learned that, that has been very eye-opening, and again, another motivator to keep doing and growing the work that we're doing. So the food wasting in landfills at this point is seen as one of the most significant drivers of methane gases being released into the atmosphere. And methane gases are highly toxic to us and to our environment. But the good news is that they are also, the impact of methane gases can be quickly reversed. So reducing food waste in landfills is widely seen by environmental experts as one of the best ways to quickly improve our environmental conditions, because that methane depletes quickly, and we can reduce the amount of methane in the atmosphere relatively quickly. So, as I mentioned earlier, we've been doing this since 1999. The amount of food that we have been able to save and rescue and redeliver to folks over that 26 years that we've been operating has saved 612 metric tons of methane from impacting the environment and climate change. And that equates to close to 10,000, keeping 10,000 cars off the road. So it really does add up.
It's wild
Mhm.
too when you hear the number. Like we already know the impact is huge, and then you put a number like that on it, and it just my mind is blown.
I feel the same way every day doing this work.
I can imagine for sure. And, speaking of the nonprofit itself, when with the Charity Navigator, it says 4-star rating for 14 consecutive years. Now, I was an arts administration major, so I interned in the nonprofit space, and I got very used to every time I heard of a new nonprofit, my first thing was to look at Charity Navigator and to kind of get a sense of how they were ranked. But I think for a lot of people, it's just overwhelming. There are so many charities that are out
Yeah.
there, how to know which ones are considered very reliable and trustworthy and using their finances well. And your rating is through the roof. Can you just share a little bit more about that? I think it's a really good thing for people to realize just how well you are using your finances too.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. It is something we're extremely proud of, and we work very hard to maintain that kind of integrity and that kind of high efficiency. Um, we are, we are a one of the larger food rescues in the country at this point, um, but we managed to deliver, what we think is a very high sort of ROI for our donors' gifts to us, and roughly for every dollar contributed to us, that gives us the resources to rescue and deliver enough food for 10 meals. And that's pretty extraordinary because of the way we've been able to scale. Truly, I have to give so much credit to our volunteers, because having these volunteers who use the app to go out and run out these rescues, our volunteers alone last year were responsible for over 2 million pounds of food being rescued. And, that really allows us to magnify our impact without continuing to add a huge amount of money to our bottom line. So that financial efficiency, the fact that our donors can know that the money they contribute is really going directly to our day-to-day food operations, keeping our refrigerated trucks on the road, keeping the technology going that gets those volunteers out into the community, and allowing us to focus our resources and our staff time and energy on continuing to grow our network of food donors and community partners and volunteers so that we can keep growing this work. There is so much more to be done. There's so much more we know we can do. And the generosity of our donors and their belief in our work, and then our commitment to standing behind how we use every single dollar, is what we know will keep this going.
Oh, it's just fantastic. And another thing I saw on your website that I just have to point out in the timeline, I saw you had a few shout outs from Bruce Springsteen, which in New Jersey is pretty much the most legit thing you can get, right?
That is, if you need street cred in New Jersey, that's it. You got it.
There you go. Exactly. You're in with Bruce.
Exactly.
But as as we wrap up, Heather, I just had to ask you, with the amount of volunteer opportunities you have, there are so many, and you've mentioned some of them, and I know you do a lot with corporations and with school partnerships. Can you touch a little bit on those, and then maybe tell people about how they can reach out to you?
Yes, of course. So I already talked about how individuals can get involved as volunteers through our iRescue app. We are adding new rescues onto that app every day. So anytime someone is interested in volunteering with us, downloading that app, and there's no specific schedule that a person has to commit to. There's no real obligation. It's just do what you can. And once you do a few of them, you realize how easy it is. And then you start going, okay, I could do a few more this week. I could do a couple more today. And that's, again, how we keep the work growing. But in addition to that, as you mentioned, we work with corporations all across northern New Jersey to get teams involved to help with food packing and distribution to help. We do these big bagged lunch making extravaganzas that are great team building exercises. So we're taking, the various ingredients and packing up these bagged lunches that then get delivered via the app to local pantries. And those are so valuable for so many families who are struggling financially to have something that is sort of, grab and go for their kids for lunch, or for people who are maybe in a situation where they don't have a home or they don't have a kitchen facility, and it's a ready to go sort of full meal for them. So we love working with corporate teams. We have we bring corporate teams out to farms like America's Grow-A-Row and some of our other farm partners to do gleaning, to harvest that Jersey fresh produce that then gets out to our pantries and our communities. And we also partner with schools. So we work with over 40 schools across northern New Jersey. Many of them are contributing the surplus from their school cafeterias. We have schools that organize produce drives, fresh produce drives with their students, or turkey or ham drives around the holidays. And we partner with schools to provide educational tools that the teachers can use in their classrooms to help the students learn about food waste and its environmental impact, and how the dots can be connected between food waste and people in their own communities who might be struggling. So it's a great way to get the next generation of food rescue heroes involved in understanding now how they can make a difference today, tomorrow, well into the future. So we're always looking, anybody who wants to be a part of our work, we have a way for you to get involved. And anyone who's interested can go to our website, just www.table2table.org, and take a look. You'll find information about individually volunteering, school partnerships, corporate partnerships. We host events all year long that are really great, a lot of fun and really critical to raising funds for our mission. Really, anyone who wants to be a part of this, we've got a spot for you.
Excellent. Heather, thank you so much for sharing this with me today, and thank you for what you're doing every day with Table to Table.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to click that subscribe button, and if you know someone who would appreciate this episode, please do share it with them. If you'd like to partner, connect, or have a health topic that you'd like us to dive into, reach out anytime at healthyinthegardenstate.com. Until next time, I'm Kate Chiricello-Tente, and this is A Dose of Health from Healthy in the Garden State. If you enjoyed these mini-sodes of A Dose of Health, check out Healthy in the Garden State, our full episodes highlighting the health and wellness happening here in New Jersey at healthyinthegardenstate.com.